Anything is possible. New freezer, it's a lot of them.
What's happening, Mike?
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going?
Good, man.
Awesome. I appreciate you hopping on, man. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
How's your Friday going so far?
Pretty good. Been a busy morning so far. I was up early today.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Well, dude, first and foremost, I just want to say you're one of my favorite brand marketers, founders in the space. What you're doing with Liquid Death is inspiring, incredible, honestly, like beast. I love everything from, all your campaigns are incredible, and I think we need to see more of it. I think the marketing is really lackluster in CPG. So pumped to have you on today and just share a little bit about your story. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Awesome, man. Well, just to start high level, guys, this is episode 9 with Mike Cessario. Am I pronouncing it correctly, or is it Cessario or
You've got the correct Italian pronunciation on that one, Cessario.
Cessario?
But everyone in my family just says Cessario. But yeah,
Cessario.
you're right.
Okay.
We're wrong.
There you go. There you go. Episode 9, founder of Liquid Death Mountain Water. So Mike, let's just kick it off. Keep it super high level. Would love to hear a little bit about you. Early days, college, etc. Where do you come from, and why did you really kick off this journey?
Yeah, I'll kind of give like the quick high level path, but high school played guitar in punk bands and metal bands and was always into drawing and art. So I was silk screening our t-shirts, doing show flyers, like, running a band is its own kind of entrepreneurial thing. I ended up going to college for graphic design originally, and then switched to advertising because I think once I sort of was exposed to like the more conceptual, funny side of marketing rather than just like the in the weeds design pixel pushing, that was just more appealing to me. So went that route, started working for a bunch of great ad agencies, eventually became a creative director, and was doing tons of fun work, especially on the viral side of things, and leveraging the world of social, when a lot of brands, like even to this day, they don't take it that seriously, whereas like social media now is really just a slang term for the internet. Like when people say I'm going on the internet, 9 times out of 10, it means you're going on social media to find your news or your entertainment or whatever else.
Or even just the new medium, television. It is literally replacing linear television out the window, gone.
Yeah, I think
So
it was last year was the first time that hours spent on the internet every day just passed hours spent on TV. It's the first time in history last year.
this was when? Last year?
Last year, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, so kind of dabbled in that space a lot, did a lot of digital stuff, and yeah, I think I always was developing my own point of view on like I want to make a product, and I think a lot of it is because when you work in advertising and marketing, you are creating things for other brands that ultimately determine what advertising they make. Like people see that most advertising is terrible, and it's not a lot of the times the ad agency's fault. Agencies will pitch really fun, awesome things, but the corporate boardrooms of most brands, they are too myopic in how they think about their product. And I think some things that most brands think are important because they're too close to their product, they don't really realize that everybody else who doesn't work for you, or specifically doesn't work in marketing, could literally give 2 shits about half the stuff you're putting out there that you're so excited about, Like I've worked for pizza brands that spent $250,000 getting the cheese pool shot for the commercial. To them, that's the most important thing. Like you're going to sell way more pizza the more money you spend on the cheese pool shot. And it's just like, wow. Like I think about marketing like marketing is an awareness game for the most part. It's like you need to let people know about your thing. And when you let them know about it, you want them to sort of have a sense of how to think about it when they know about it. So I think about it like, if I had $250,000, what is the smartest, best way I can use this $250,000 to generate as much awareness as possible? And most of the time,
It's simply it's a mind share game, and I couldn't agree with you more. And I feel like
yeah,
there's so many founding teams that like especially in food and beverage, like the marketing landscape in food and beverage. The reason it's so exciting right now is just I just don't think you have the type of experimentation and risk taking that you would in other industries. So
and
I love it.
I always hear that, like, taking risks and being risky. But I think what's riskier, being a new beverage brand that has extremely limited capital. You're probably going to run out at some point if you're not careful and super
Yeah.
efficient with it. What's
Yep.
more risky? Just blending in with everyone else and just like all your money actually doesn't actually do anything for you? Or is it more risky to like take the money to do something where what might come out of it is way bigger? Because literally the worst thing that can happen is you being ignored. That's the worst thing. The best
Yeah.
thing that can happen is everyone's talking about it. The other best thing that happened about it is even if people hate it, they're still talking about it. you know?
Yep.
So I often think that it's actually riskier to be safe with things unless you've got a war chest of hundreds of millions of dollars where you can just spend all day like these big companies. But if you're a small company, I think it's riskier to be safe because you're going to have very limited capital to do what you need to do.
Totally. So you're working on a number of campaigns. You were at Donor, Vayner. You worked on a lot of Netflix accounts. So was it straight out of school? You were doing a lot of this, just all types of creative work, copywriting, campaigns. How did you get into that field?
Yeah, so like I said, I started out in design, moved to advertising, started out in advertising as an art director, but still in advertising on the creative side, you're essentially getting hired first and foremost for your ability to come up with ideas, whether you're an
Yep.
art director or a copywriter. And then secondary, your craft is either designing or writing. So I think I wasn't like the greatest designer ever, but I had really strong ideas. So that
Yep.
carried me. But then ultimately, I ended up selling more headlines and taglines and scripts and things. So I switched to being a writer a couple years in, and
Got it.
then I kind of grew a lot faster after that. But yeah, I worked on campaigns for Netflix, Organic Valley. I think doing I don't know if you ever saw the Save the Bros campaign for Organic Valley, but for me, that was sort of the aha moment that got me thinking about Liquid Death, because we did basically one of the first funny, irreverent marketing campaigns for the organic industry. Like there was nothing
Right.
funny about organic. Like it was just
Right.
family farmers and do the right thing. And, this is better. And I think Organic Valley, they came to us because they were launching the first organic protein shake.
Yep.
And they knew that even though all their other marketing was like these documentary style family farmer based things because they were selling butter and milk to moms in Whole Foods, they knew that the protein shake was a very different market. And they came to us like, hey, we don't really know how to talk to this like more male dominant, like workout bro kind of world. So we came up with Save the Bros, and it was, went viral. It was covered on all these different news stations. And I think that was this moment for me where I was like, yeah, I like organic stuff. Like I like being healthy, but I also like weird, irreverent internet humor. And it was like that moment of, yeah, why isn't there more funny, exciting, irreverent brands and campaigns in the health food space? Like,
Right.
why is it all very quiet and pretty and perfect? And, like, why is it that energy drinks and beer and junk food get to have all the marketing fun? Like, in reality, it's not like Snickers bars are so much more fun than bananas. It's like, no, it's like, it's all just marketing bullshit. And they've just found a space that they decided to own, which was like, we are going to be about fun, whether it's, candy or junk food or whatever. It's all about fun. And then health somehow took on this thing of like, it's all about responsibility. Well, to me, if you really want people to get behind a cause and make positive change, it's going to happen way more on a mass level if you can make the change fun. Like, I'd rather wear or most people probably would rather wear a t-shirt that says death to plastic on it than remember and think about the oceans and all the creatures. And, it's like, even though they believe that, it's like, you don't it's not as fun to get behind. Like it's not as fun to like talk about, because like not everybody wants to bum somebody out with something that they're into. So it's like you find this fun way to get people behind it, and I think it's more powerful. And that's kind of our whole brand ethos is, at the end of the day, all the weird, bizarre, twisted, whatever you want to call it, that we do, it's all championing sustainability and health. Like we just want to make this positive thing way more fun than even the unhealthy stuff. Like, because we knew that that was the case. Like if energy drinks are here, we need to be up here,
Yep.
to really compete. So.
No, and I think, look, when I see the biggest breakthroughs and the people who are fantastic at gaining brand awareness, mindshare, attention arbitrage, like what you guys are doing is I feel like founders who have different experience across disciplines, like you have this incredible background of launching campaigns for House of Cards and just building massive momentum across linear television and, on social. And then you bring that kind of a campaign and that power and emotion to a CPG product. Not only that, I've obviously like looked into all of your campaigns, everything from Selling Your Soul to the Will Carsola shorts, the animated shorts, and just exactly what you said previously. You're using amazing slogans and taglines that are really fun and punchy. And yes, it can be, gory and memorable, but the bottom line is you're pushing through with, look, this is about sustainability. This is about having a mission and real values that tie into that extreme. And that's why I think you guys are just doing such an amazing, exceptional job. And it's just different. Everyone else is trying to fit in this box, get picked up by the same group of retailers, not really stand out enough that they can really gain. It really does a disservice to themselves. And I feel like you are one of the brands I've seen that is like, frankly, just doesn't really give a fuck and will test anything that will, I guess, just allow you to differentiate and stand out. Even the EP, like we've put out some music as well, and I've seen very few brands think about sonic advertising and music, and it's such an incredible medium that hasn't even been touched in food.
Yeah, I mean, we made the Greatest Hates album, and we sold out of 1,000 vinyl records at $20 a piece.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And food brands now, I mean, all brands are media companies. And so once people start to realize that, that's where you start to see these breakthroughs. But anyway, let's get back to just, so, you're really, you did the Save the Bros campaign. You're working on some other really exciting projects. How did you initially kick off and say, okay, we're gonna go build this thing. We're gonna, make it happen. Where was the initial inspiration for it?
So yeah, like I said, I started kind of like shortly after we did Save the Bros, I started thinking more about this side project thing. And, I was still working my advertising day job for a while, and, that's long hours and all that. So the time I had, I was like kind of slowly building this thing behind the scenes. And then eventually got it to a place where I'm like, all right, we need to get this thing out there. And I think that's, if I had to give any advice to anybody, I think that's the most important thing is you just need to get something out into the wild. Like so many people just want to perfect something and perfect something and perfect something. And meanwhile, 6 months goes by, and now by the time you're ready, 2 other people are now ready to put in something else. And they're like, fuck, like I wish I just would have put my stake in the ground 6 months ago, because the reality is all these little nuances that you're going crazy about actually don't matter to 98% of the people. So it's like, just get your thing out there, see how people react to it. You can always reiterate, like you don't need to like be locked into one thing forever and ever. It's like the first design of a Liquid Death can that we launched, we totally changed it, I think, a month later. And then we totally changed it again, like a month later, to kind of just, as we learn more about what this thing is or isn't, but at least the idea for Liquid Death canned water was out in the world and getting attention, and we were putting our stake in the ground. And then, yeah, it was basically like October of 2017. I think that's right. Yeah, October 2017, we released the first Liquid Death sort of video. that we spent $1,500 to shoot and make. We designed like a 3D Liquid Death can render that looked real. And we made a Facebook page, no Twitter, no Instagram, no YouTube. It was just Facebook. And it was like we put a couple grand in paid media behind the video. And we would just do some funny social posts, like maybe once or twice a week. And then 4 months later, the page has more followers than Aquafina. Our video has 3 million views. We're getting direct messages from franchisees of 7-Elevens, from non-alc distributors. Like, people were coming to us. And then we use sort of that traction, because Liquid Death is such a crazy idea. There was nobody who was writing me a check for the idea of Liquid Death skull water in a can. Like, you're fucking crazy. Even my closest friends, the people who work for me, were like, yeah, this isn't going to work. So I had to prove it out first. Then once you've got all this social traction, then you've kind of de-risked the deal a little bit, raised a little bit to kind of actually produce product. And then we got connected with a venture incubator studio called Science that did, was part of the Dollar Shave Club story. And they kind of helped us sort of tighten some nuts and bolts for like a proper D2C launch, which was in January of last year. And, we knew we would go D2C first because, again, this is such a crazy brand. Like, it's going to take time for things this disruptive to like be understood by like the more mass retailer level. We know we're going to be in retail eventually. We didn't know how soon, but we knew D2C, we control our destiny. Like, we can prove that people want our product and we know how to market to them. And that's what we did. We started growing crazy with D2C. And then we just kept getting more inbound requests from retailers being like, hey, how do we get this? How do we get this? We saw this on the internet the other day. So then we started doing like little retail tests, and it was like outselling all the other water in the door. And then we were like, okay, this is probably a nice proof point that we should probably go into retail like right away. And we just started kind of building out slowly like a sales team, having more of like a retail strategy. We kind of went out after bars at first because, again, we knew that the big retailers were going to take some time to warm up to it. And once we're in tons of bars, and bars that never sold water were selling 5 cases of Liquid Death a week. And,
it's crazy.
We just kept going and kept going. And then Whole Foods was, one of the first hand raisers, and like they launched this national.
Isn't that crazy that Whole Foods, I mean, testament to them, right? Because you guys are such an outlier. For Whole Foods, like this really a health and wellness oriented company to go, this is it, we're going to bet on this. I got to commend them for that. That's pretty interesting, right?
Absolutely. So, I very much respect their point of view and their bravery on things. And just like, it's like so much marketing, especially at the big corporate level, is designed to cater to the lowest common denominator. Like where Liquid Death, like we are targeting sort of the smarter person in the room. Like, we're not trying to like dumb everything down so that everyone understands it. And I think Whole Foods, realizes like, people aren't stupid. Like, they're not worried that like, oh my God, this infinitely recyclable can of water that's super healthy that says death on it is I'm going to go protest outside the store. Like, they know that's not going to happen. Like, they know most people are like, oh, this is funny, this is cool. So, but I think, it's always going to work that way in terms of there's the first movers who get it, and then they normalize the brand. And then once Whole Foods has it, now it's like, oh, okay, well, Whole Foods has it, so now Target's going to have it, or now whoever's going to have it. And then it just, it's same thing. Like Monster, I think back in the day, like there was tons of retailers who wouldn't carry it. They're like, oh, this is dangerous. Like, you can't carry this. And now it's just like you can buy it anywhere. So, yeah.
What about when you were making that transition? Because it's never, first off, I love how you said when you told your first group of friends, hey, I'm launching this canned water concept. So that idea, I think I listened to an interview that you did where the initial concept for canned water came from those music festivals, right? Where you saw artists that were performing with Red Bull cans, or?
Yeah, I think it's not a, I mean, it's a very familiar thing to people for decades that most brands that have spokespeople, whether it was, you know, old NFL players for Coca-Cola back in the day or whoever, like people know that half the spokespeople for brands don't actually drink the thing they promote. Like they're
Of
taking a
course.
check.
Hmm.
And we saw that to be true in the energy drink space where, companies like Monster were sponsoring every single punk alternative thing because no other brand wanted to play in that space. So they just basically bought it all. And, these punk bands, like nobody else is offering them $5,000 a month check just to like support their brand. So it's like, of course they're going to take the money, but they don't actually drink the energy drinks. So what we saw at the Warped Tour was the energy drink companies would fill their energy drink cans with water for the bands because in the hot sun, no one's going, bands aren't going to be pounding energy drinks all day.
Hot monsters.
Yeah, yeah. So you see all these bands on stage looking like they're pounding Monster, but it was really just water. And I
Yeah.
remember, my friends were in some bands and I was like drinking one backstage and I'm like, yeah, this is, why don't they put water in cans? And it's like, and I thought like, how fucked up is this that like all these kids just think all these guys are drinking energy drinks when they're not, and in fact, none of them probably ever drink it. Like they might even think it's like no one thinks Monster is cool, like they just like, hey, this is my sponsorship opportunity. This is like a way for me to like, I have to make my income, like whether it's record sales are gone now because of digital music. So I only can tour. I can sell t-shirts. Like that's my income. Like how else can I find income as a musician or as an athlete? Like if you're a skateboarder, there's no way for you to make money without a sponsor. You can't just go skate down the street and people throw money at you.
No.
So, so I think we were capitalizing on this idea that like, we knew that this cool culture that built these billion-dollar brands. Like Monster's market cap right now is $32 billion. That's what they're worth. Red Bull, I think, is
Yeah.
like close to 50. But it's like this awesome
Don't
world.
forget Bang, man.
Oh yeah, Bang. Oh no, Bang's crazy too. But it's like these things. There's this whole culture that built these billion-dollar brands, but it was more from a marketing standpoint where tons of these people weren't actually like big consumers of the brands.
Yeah.
So we saw an opportunity. Well, hey, here's something that still appeals to that world, but is something that people could get way more on board with. Like everybody drinks water. They want to drink water. They don't feel as bad about promoting Liquid Death to their, 100,000 14-year-old followers on Instagram. Like, oh, I feel way better about promoting water than I do, a bunch of other things. So that was kind of how we leaned into it.
I love it. And was there ever a moment like when you quit your job to do this? I'm assuming there was like you said, all right, I'm done. I'm going to go make this happen. I think some of the challenges that a lot of people face, I did myself, what the opinions of others, super high risk, no guarantees. How were you kind of dealing with this? Was this just internally, I have to do this? You were fearless, had no concerns, or was it, okay, this is kind of, this now's the perfect time. I'm going to make it happen. How did you kind of tackle that?
I think, you know, it was a little bit easier for me because I got fired from my agency job shortly before I went full in with Liquid Death. But it was
There you
like,
go. Okay.
I think I forget where I heard this quote, but it's like the great entrepreneurs are almost unemployable. It's just like you have such a vision for something and you don't want to, like, you're always pushing against like what what is traditional. Like, wait, I'm always asking, like, why do we do it this way? Like, why do we have to spend $250,000 on a cheese pull shot? Like, why? And in that world, like, people don't like questioning that. It's like, oh God, like, we don't want to explain to you. We have to do everything through our board. And then there's rounds of, consumer focus group testing and all this stuff, and it's just like, there isn't room for like true innovation there. So when you really push at that, it's just like you don't really fit in that role. So, eventually it was just like, I was, let go from my agency job, and I just started doing freelance gigs. So I had Liquid Death going, but then, I do freelance copywriting or creative direction for different agencies and brands, just to kind of like keep money coming in until Liquid Death was really able to start getting to a place where I could do it full time.
It's awesome. It's
So
awesome. I mean, I think that I couldn't agree with you more. You have this like this pull where if you don't go do it, you feel like you're suffocating at the office.
yeah.
That's kind of how I was. I was sitting at my desk and I'm like, I have to do this, and you say fuck it, and you
So
just make it
what did you
happen.
do? What did you do before this?
I used to be an iBanker, suit and tie every day for 4.5 years, and I was at
Okay.
my desk, man. I was just like, I've always loved food and beverage. Always had a sweet tooth, and you know, eat plant based, and just saw this really unique opportunity with what we were building. So I hung up the suit. I was like, no more for me. Um, but back, you know, you made a really interesting point before that. I want to just talk to
Sure.
as well as you're mentioning that, and this is the reason that we're even having this conversation now, and why emerging brands are starting to push through is the big guys, the Nestle's, the Unilevers, the Kraft Heinz, they have such bureaucratic systems in place, and you know they're marginally innovating, and they have boards that need to sign off quarterly on all these marketing decisions and innovation and R&D, and so you know the nimble folks who are willing to kind of take a chance and try a new category or type of packaging or marketing campaign are who are going to end up building these next generation of brands. So I love it, man. So you guys launched. I will say I knew about the involvement with science. I see a lot of comps between Dollar Shave Club and what you guys are doing. But where's Liquid Death now? Where are you guys trending, and what do you expect for the next few years as you continue developing the brand? I know you now have a sparkling water as well, but how does the brand continue to evolve?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're always going to stay super focused. Like I don't, I think that a lot of people in the beverage or CPG space, they tell you when you're an emerging brand, like you need to launch with a minimum of 3 SKUs. And it's like so many of these brands, the only reason they're adding more flavors or more varieties is purely for shelf space, where it's like you could have 7 flavors, but 2 of the flavors probably do 80% of the revenue. The
Yep.
rest is all just like, hey, we can have more shelf presence. Because when the brand isn't jumping out off the shelf and kind of blends in, that's the only way you're going to get people's attention is by just more physical space. We're lucky in a sense that by design, we baked so much of the marketing into the product itself. So we knew that even without a $500,000 cool marketing campaign wrapped around it, that just the product itself, people would see and be like, oh my God, what is that? I have to pick it up. I have to look at it. I want to try it. And that enables us to stay a lot more focused, where the only way we're going to probably create flavors or SKU or more things is if it just makes a ton of sense for the brand and many other things. It's not just going to be so we can have one more facing on the shelf. We can find other ways to promote trial and presence just because of the natural of just the nature of the brand. But yeah, I think we're definitely going hard into retail. Obviously Whole Foods opened up the floodgates, and we get tons of inbound now, and growing more and more on social, and we get tons of DMs and messages every day of people being like, when can I buy it at my local gas station? Like, I don't want to go to Whole Foods. Like, when can I, so, we're just, we just hired a really awesome team of retail folks that are rock stars, and we're ready to kind of take this to like the next level, like real fast.
What do you foresee Liquid Death being 5, 10 years from now? Do you see, are you going to build it the same way a Red Bull or a Monster would do, in the sense of, this incredible content arm, ambassadors? What is the ultimate, evolution of Liquid Death? Because I mean, when I see animated shorts, when I see, your own EP, I can only imagine you're working on a million other content related projects. But, do you want to create your own television show? I mean, you look at brands like Goop that have been able to transition into their own show on Netflix. I think food and beverage brands can create their own television shows or put out music. But what do you plan on doing with the Liquid Death platform as you take it to the next level?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. It's like, I think the future of what a brand or a CPG brand can be is so much wider than people think it is. Like, I think Amazon's a good example. Like, Amazon started out as an online retailer selling books. Now, imagine if then Amazon said, one day we're going to make the most popular television shows.
Yeah.
It's like people have been like, you're a fucking online book company. What do you?
Yep.
But it's like, the more you can build a lifestyle brand that has a bigger purpose than just the liquid of the product you sell, it opens up all different kinds of avenues of what the brand can actually sell or get into. And as long as, like, I think what Amazon was smart about was, like, they knew if they were going into entertainment, they better hire the best entertainment people and really push the boundaries of, like, what is currently in the entertainment space. I think a lot of companies try limping in because they're like, oh, well, this is a good show for a beverage company, but not like, this is a good show compared to House of Cards or compared
Yeah.
to, So I think as long as you are very honest with yourself about where the bar really is for the things you're making and how to actually get above that and take it seriously, like, you can absolutely be successful in all those other things.
It's awesome. That's awesome. I guess I'm excited every time you guys put something new out. I'm jacked up. I love it. I don't see other brands that are investing at that level and getting that much attention and building a community. So that's amazing. I guess as we start to wrap up, you see so much capital flowing into this space. What advice would you have for other people building beverage brands that are really diving into CPG and trying to build awareness and kind of achieve that level of success that you guys are starting to see?
I mean, I think it's the same thing. I've probably, like, run my voice dry saying in boardrooms for a decade, even in advertising. It's like, just be completely true to you and find, like, what it is that makes you you, and just go all in on that. Like,
Yeah.
for me, Liquid Death, it's like, it was the thing that was completely me. It was like punk rock, metal, alternative culture, like dark stand-up comedy, like horror movies, like all the stuff that is me, that I know better than anybody else, combined with, like, my marketing experience and, like, viral video experience, and combined with my passion for health, because, like, I haven't drank, even in high school, I was a vegetarian for 6 years, and most of my friends were vegan or vegetarian, and dudes in these metal bands actually are sober, they don't drink. And it was like, that was always a part of my world. And just, you combine all those things together to make this unique thing that nobody can do better than you. And that will just naturally attract an organic audience of people. But, like, I think people are always trying to be like, what should my brand be? Should it be this? Well, if you try to be this thing that you're not inherently that, it's going to be really hard to pull off. It's just going to be watered down, or you're going to have to pay other people to do the thing that you can't do. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just find out, like what is the weird thing or interesting thing that you have that no one else has, and find a way to amplify that and bake that into your brand. Because even though it seems like it's niche, by doing something aimed at a niche thing, you create an authenticity that has a much, much bigger halo effect than you would probably ever think. Like I always say with Liquid Death, almost every design, branding, language decision I've made for this brand have been through the filter of, would Slayer think this is cool?
I love that.
But like,
that's awesome.
But it's got this huge halo effect where Whole Foods is hand raising for it. And like, there's moms, soccer moms have it because they're like, oh, this is fun. Like, people don't realize, like, it's the way people buy things is not as rational as you think it is. Like, people think, oh, Liquid Death Skull, that's only for people who like metal. It's like, no, like mom over here just thinks it's a fun, cool thing. Like she doesn't totally get it.
The yoga mom commercial that you did with the pouring out of the water,
Oh,
I would
yeah,
have
yeah.
died. I mean, that was so on the money, nailed. I'm like, they killed this because you're right. You were talking about you mentioned The Walking Dead. Like there are yoga moms that watch The Walking Dead that love zombies. Like,
number two scripted show for women like 2 years ago was The Walking Dead, a zombie show.
and the issue is you have these boardrooms that state like, this is the demographic. They go to Soul Cycle. They purchase outdoor, like, whatever it is. And that demographic, there's a lot more authenticity to it. There's a lot more complexity. And I love what you just said because it's so true. Your brand really wins when it's a culmination of just all the details in your life that are authentic. And the second that you're trying to, sell bullshit and create something that isn't truly yourself is when the business really starts to falter. So
Right.
I love that, man. That's badass. Well, Mike, dude, this has been incredible. Huge fan of yours. Congratulations on everything going on. Thanks for making some time on your Friday. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise, man. Talk to you later.
Awesome. Have a good one, buddy.
Take care.